We knew early on that this wasn't just an interruption to the way that we operate as a ministry. It was actually like we were going to get to pivot completely in the way that we operate. And so one of the really cool things that came out of that is that we weren't able to have church in a building on Sunday mornings, and so it gave us the opportunity to kind of wipe the slate clean and say, okay, this is the way that we've traditionally done church, but let's go back to the drawing board. And so the Hope Center, which is our ministry that happens in Denton, was born out of like, let's identify ways that we can meet practical needs in our community and give people an opportunity to use their gifts and passions in the middle of it.
The Hope Center is, most people think it's a building. It really isn't. It is an idea. It is a belief that we exist to make the world a better place for people who are struggling, whether it's a family who needs some help with gas, whether it's somebody in the middle of a pandemic who has to decide between paying their light bill or feeding their kids, whatever it is. We think that's why we're here. And I've said for years that if the only thing that you measure a church's success by is how many cars are in the parking lot on a Sunday, we're measuring the wrong thing. So we began the Hope Center in the middle of the city of Denton because we saw lots of needs and we wanted to make that city a better place.
When we first launched it, it was just an idea. And so it was a way to do ministry different. It was a way to meet the needs in the community, but also reach people that may never step foot in one of our church buildings. And so what we wanted to do is find a way to meet them right where they are, build relationships with them, and hopefully through time, build trust, consistency with them so that they understand the reason we're doing what we're doing is because we want to share that hope.
And so what was happening early in the pandemic is over 80% of the people that were in food lines in Denton County, it was their first time to ever be in a food line. And so we thought, not only do we want to help them by feeding them, we want to do something that would make them feel not singled out. So Feed the City started as, hey, we're just going to serve everybody. We're going to have a theme and you guys can come, and we really positioned it as if you're tired of cooking or if you need something to eat. And so you had people who had need and people who were just tired of cooking. And it kind of took on a life of its own. When we started that first weekend, we had done a big cook-off kind of event, and we had all of this meat, and we decided the easiest way to feed lots of people. And as the word grew, the number of people coming grew, but I think even more importantly, the number of people who said, you know what? I had lunch with a girl just today who said, man, I was in a bad place and I need to get out of my little bubble and help somebody else. And we saw the number of people coming out to help grow, and we saw it helping people who were helping people.
So Feed the City started out of a show, well, I guess we'd call it a show, that we were doing in the middle of the pandemic. After everything got shut down, we were shelter in place. We weren't able to have in-person church services. And so we were looking for ways to creatively engage with our people throughout the week. And so Toby has a passion for smoking meat. And so we started a little show called Cooking with Tobe on Thursday nights. And we were feeding people every night of the week. We had families who were driving through our church parking lot to receive boxes of food, because as the pandemic was continuing, we were watching the need for food assistance begin to rise. And so people would be pulling through as our camera crews were getting ready to set up for Cooking with Tobe. And so Toby, our lead pastor, had this idea, why don't we take this thing that we're seeing people are passionate about and use it as a way to meet needs in the community. And so Feed the City was born out of really creativity, and it met the need that we were seeing in the community. The very first Feed the City that we had a partner that donated 2,000 pounds of pork to the church. 2,000 pounds! So that's why we made pork tacos. It was like, okay, what resources are available? What needs are there? Let's put those things together so that we can feed people. And so there's this like looking for how can we partner with other places to be able to provide food. And then we've got a team of people that create the opportunity to happen. But then the day before is when all the fun kicks off. And when you show up on a Friday, there are men lined up around the parking lot and women who are cooking food all day long. And then Saturday is when the event itself happens, and we've got everybody from parking lot to greeters. We've got a kids team that puts together little kits for the families that are driving through. And we're feeding anywhere from 1,500 to over 2,000 people in a matter of like 3 hours worth of time.
If you pull up at Sam's in Denton with some of our guys, some of the people in Sam's will walk out and go, hey, what are y'all gonna cook for these people this weekend? And so I think we have a reputation of, man, those people are all about feeding people. I hope that the impact in our community is that people will figure out that a church isn't all about a sermon, sometimes about a sandwich, and sometimes the sandwich is the sermon. And if we can shatter some preconceived notions about what the church is all supposed to be about, then there'll be a big win.
We have been given an incredible opportunity. Crosstimbers is a very generous church, and they have set aside enormous amount of resources for us to meet the community. And so it's incredible for me to work at a place that cares so much about meeting the needs in the community. And as the director, I'm blessed that I get to be, that's my job every day, is I get to go to work and figure out how to meet needs.
So Feed the City will continue, but my hope is that Feed the City is just the starting place for where people can begin to receive hope in multiple areas of their life. Whether it's their kids needing tutoring or it's parenting classes, that Feed the City is just a stepping stone for them to learn even more about how they can receive hope. But the other thing that I see for the future of Crosstimbers through the Hope Center is that people across the world will realize that the Hope Center isn't just a physical location, but that they can be the Hope Center, and that there are needs in front of every single one of us every day. And we may have a physical location that shows an example of what it can look like, but I think that people across the world will realize that they can be a Hope Center.
And so I'm excited about the possibilities of being able to give hope to more people than we ever have, so that they can give hope in their communities like they've never given before. I think it could be the church's finest hour.